Happy Saturday. Highly caffeinated. Take 6. Oh, let's get through it. Damn it. Ugh. I know these things are so boring, but the reason why everything is going bust is because we aren't paying attention to the history and to the reality and what it really all means. What the fuck is government for, people? The government is an agreement. It only exists because people are in agreement that through leadership, and in our case, in our type of government, chosen leadership, um, is maybe we'll edit that out. I don't know, but that chosen government and leadership is um, allowed to make decisions and do things for the overall general welfare of the people, for the good of the people, the common good, for the common people. Okay? Because the people is from the very wealthiest to the very, very most impoverished. Everybody, if you're within the boundaries of the nation, you belong to the nation, and the nation, the government, is obligated to take care of you in pursuit of life, liberty, justice for all, and happiness. Okay? Nobody's happy if they aren't free. We'll have a discussion on that later. So, the participation of the people is key to this. All revolutions and civil disobedience and civil wars are because a group of people, or a majority of the people, are in huge disagreement with what is freaking happening by the government. Our nation was founded in a revolution because we didn't like a monarchy from way over there interfering way over here, and not understanding that things were growing to be different over here than over in Great Britain, and that it was unfair that they would do things against the people, forcing us to pay things that we did not agree to, because we didn't have any representation in the House of Lords or in Parliament. And the king sure as shit didn't give a shit. I think old Georgie Boy was already dealing with disease and was not very right in the head. But even despite that, there was an agreement in place that wasn't being adhered to. And so when our nation was built, it was to ensure that we were able to continue to grow and be happy, because the founding fathers also recognized we were in a complete unique situation, a completely unique country. And they were a bunch of men who either had experience in Europe and came over here, or were sons, grandsons, great-grandsons of men who kept the story alive of how things were over there. The constant frickin' wars, the constant push and pull against the average person, how difficult it was for the regular common man to be able to improve himself and become a well-to-do, wealthy person. That's why people came over here and took such a huge risk. That's why parents indentured their children to people over here, is so that their children would have a chance, because all the land was spoken for over there. I know there's a lot of historical context there, but the relevancy right now, and I want to acknowledge it, I'm not ignoring it, but the greater point here is that our government functions on certain precepts that are being dismantled. These precepts protect our freedoms of movement, of pursuit of education, of pursuit of compensation when we have been done wrong, of pursuit of justice when we have been done wrong. So both civilly and criminally. A pursuit of growth and development. that as the wealthy may get a little bit wealthier, everybody else has the opportunity to be able to become extremely well-to-do, very comfortable, and or wealthy, based on your pleasure, what you want in your life. And the purpose, though, of government is to ensure that, is to protect the people, to help the people, not help grow the people, but to help ensure that there is a good local country economy, that money is flowing freely across all places. The government creates debt, and then that debt goes out into the community, gets used and then paid back in the form of taxes and bonds and CDs and other things. That's how communities have money to do things, and that's how the government has money to do things. Projects for the people, i.e. highways and dams and bridges and a safe flying paths across the country, safe trains. The purpose of a business is to increase the largesse, the finances, the stature of the business creator, owner, and investors. So the bigger that is, the more people are wrapped up into it. So when a business goes public and has investors, then the focus of the business legally, not necessarily morally and ethically, but legally, as per recent, as in the last 40 years, Supreme Court law, is that a company does have an obligation to its shareholders to ensure that it is indeed doing good things and making good money. You run a business into the ground, the shareholders want their piece and will sue you for their piece. Totally get it. I agree with that. But the problem is that it's become so heavy that the shareholders are the only ones who count. And the people who consume and give money for that business to grow, and the workers who help in the production and help put that things out there and sell things and help create or build things for that company in that company's name. Research, science, advancement in technologies, all of that. When it is done by private businesses, those people then are not also respected. They're just cogs in the wheel in order for the company to have more profits. Even though there are better ways to be profitable and to be a long-lasting legacy company. Companies will also often find ways that they can get between the consumer and maybe another company, or the people and the government. They interject their place into spaces in order to make things easier. Deal with us, not with them. Whether it's another business or the government. And they then affect pricing that is detrimental to us. And the government's job is to police that. The government's job is to give guardrails for that. The government's job is to regulate business so that it is done a purpose for the betterment of the community and not for the negative at the local level and the federal level. And often businesses do things at the cost of the community, at the cost of wages, at the cost of being able to negotiate wages, at the cost of quality of health care, and at the cost of the environment in communities. I.e., when we think about all the chemical spills, DuPont, 3M, which I think is owned by DuPont, PG&E, they're in California, Pacific, along the Pacific coast, the Love Canal, and Flint, Michigan, water quality. Government is supposed to monitor that. But when the government stops working for the people and starts working for those businesses, starts working for the wealthiest, they are choosing the consideration and the betterment of those folks. It is against the needs directly of the common man, common person. This is where the government fails to meet its obligations to the people. This is where it has broken that social agreement. This is where we then stand up as the common people. Say no more. We're done. This is not going to continue. It is not the government as a whole, it's the people within the government. I do not trust the people, because it has been proven that when we have good people in the government governing, we have incredible outcomes. We have improvements of health, improvements of local economies, improvements of our beautiful spaces and places in land and waters and air. We have improvements. We come back from the brink of near disaster and are able to stand firm with each other again because good governance has happened. We haven't had quality across the board good governance in a very, 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 very long time. We have to step up not only in resistance to the tactics of the current government as peacefully as possible for as long as possible. We also have to stand up in resistance to those companies who have their hands in the back ends of our public officials. We have a lot of work ahead of us. And I know we're already tired. We have not even begun to understand the word tired. So, find ways to resist. Don't purchase where you don't have to. Purchase locally. As we get into spring and summer, get your vegetables. I know even at slightly higher cost, but get your vegetables, your fruits, from as local as possible. Find ways to be able to afford local meats to support our farmers, because they are being hit hard too right now. And guess what? One farmer feeds, well, I think the number is 8 people now in the United States, if not 12. But our farmers also feed many parts of the world. And if they are not able to do their work, then all of us starve. So get together with your community, come up with people, discuss with farmers, what can I do? How can I purchase from you? Just do that. Local stands, you want eggs? You got great eggs out of every place around. We have to retaliate against, we have to resist against, rebel against businesses and the actions that are happening within our government. Get out. Get out into the streets peacefully. Do not even look like, do not cover your face. Don't do any bullshit. This is not the same movement as Black Lives Matter. This is not the same movement as the women's marches during the first Trump administration. Pink hats aren't going to make a point. Call your representatives, your senators, show up to meetings. We have to let them know that they aren't meeting the obligation, that they are breaking it, and that it's unacceptable. Doesn't matter right now whose fucking fault it is. Okay? I get that. We will deal with that later. That's not the point right now. That is a distraction. Don't get distracted. Get out there. Call, email. All your representatives, all your state representatives, your district representative, and senator. Call them. Call your federal senator. Call them often, daily, frequently. Make it a freaking habit. Just do it. Why? Because if you push back, they're going to get very, very worried that you won't want them back. And if we do happen to actually have functioning, fair, and very few shenanigans come midterms, elect those fuckers out. As many as you can. Do not put the same kind of person back in place. Don't look for somebody who's a different dick, but is very much just like the MAGA that's currently there. Don't do that. And when you give your grievances to these people, do not threaten them, because that doesn't do anything. Tell them how it's actually affecting you. Hey, I cannot, whatever. Hey, you are impacting me here. And repeat that. If you do not start acting the way that we expect you to act, we will kick you out of office. Non-violently. Because the next phase that Trump really is itching to do is to get the military involved. And to have an excuse to do a national emergency and issue martial law. Because the more uncomfortable he gets, the more he wants to do that extreme measure. And then we're in a completely different scenario. Because then we have to rely on the military to stand up to him and say no. Because it will be rife with illegal orders. And a drunken chief in charge of the military, the DOD, doesn't care. There's a reason why President Trump fired the top Joint Chiefs of Staff. Because they would tell him no. And he will put in place, even pulling out of retirement, the yes men who will say yes and then turn around to look at the military and then threaten those guys. We know what the absolute worst is. You cannot let that debase your conviction in purpose. If we show them en masse that we are together nationally in greater numbers than who voted, which means it has to be more than 150 million, we have to have 200 million, the whole 330 million people, i.e. bring your kids, to stand up. Peacefully protest. And I would say yes, bring your kids initially. I would say yes, put that out there. Peacefully protest. Stand and protest. Get out there and let them know we will not take this. This is not okay. We cannot sit here and wait and pray that 150 million more people will make a better decision come the midterms and then come the next major federal election. Because Trump is already calling himself a king and he's already talking about trying to get himself a third term. We need to nip that in the bud. Now. You can do it aggressively without being violent. There is a lot to speak for standing there silently staring at people who are put there to do major wrong, because then they see that the eyes of the world is on them. And then they have to choose in that moment whether they're going to do the wrong. Even if one thing startles you and something happens, do not let that be the thing that launches us too quickly down the wrong violent road. Let that be something that is contained, that is addressed, but is not the match. We need to choose the time. We cannot let them choose the time. We outnumber them. We always have, and we always will. Let us show them.